Good afternoon and welcome to Finding the Plot. My name is Sebastian Whittington-Smythe, and today I'm looking at a game that I've been putting off for some time, so before we go forwards, let's address something. Whenever I mention religion in these videos, no matter how tongue-in-cheek, somebody always gets offended. Well, this video is going to be featuring religion a hell of a lot. So let's make something perfectly clear. I could not care less what you choose to believe or choose not to believe, just so long as you're enjoying your life and not being an uncouth sod to other people. Take these videos for what they are. They're just entertainment. I'm not trying to change the world or prioritise one belief system over another. As ironic as it may seem, there is no hidden subtext to what I'm saying. I'm not trying to provide a hidden message, so please don't go looking for one. So, if I do say anything that offends your religious beliefs, in the words of the late great Bill Hicks, forgive me. If you don't like my videos for any other reason, just don't watch them. So, with that being said, sit back, relax, and grab a Jesus juice as we find the plot of Shaddai, Ascension of the Metatron. The opening sequence of the game shows us a very modern-looking chap telling us that
took place 14,000 years ago. Well, to me it seems like only yesterday. To you, could be tomorrow.
He said that this man is known by 72 different names and rattles off a few with a nice bit of word animation. He eventually settled on calling him Enoch and says that he was quite stubborn. This is the man himself, the myth, the legend, literally some might say, Enoch. He tells the modern chap, Lucifer, that the armour is okay and then he dives off of a celestial hand. It's a neat visual that brings us into this world of divine splendour, while the background music is a rousing Middle Eastern sounding ditty, at least to my somewhat unmusical ears. He's in this abstract yellow world and immediately comes to blows with this chap with the green one-eyed pyramid head, known as the Watcher Azazel. There's a light scuffle, and then Enoch ends up as naked as Arthur from Ghouls and Ghosts. And while I don't think there's any scriptures that mention explosive armour and battle nudity, that doesn't mean that it isn't a nifty bit of visual feedback from the game, and that needs to be appreciated. Also, Ghouls and Ghosts is a great game, so I'm satisfied either way. Enoch is defeated and Lucifer tells him that he gets another chance, and then everything rewinds and we see that Enoch works as a scribe documenting the words of God, and has thus far put out mountains, literally mountains of books. Notice the juxtaposition of Enoch's ancient clothing style compared to Lucifer's modern look. He even has a mobile phone. This emphasises just how long Enoch's been in heaven. He is questioned on his armour once more. And this time Enoch is seen to be wearing jeans as opposed to pants and has a different sort of armour. Interesting. He's transported to a dark world where he has to catch up with shadows. As he runs, Lucifer explains that all of man's technological advancements, the tools and wisdom that we have, were divine wisdom brought to the world by angels. Enoch defeats the figures, stopping them from obtaining the fruits of wisdom. Impressed, Lucifer grants him an arch, a weapon from God.
It's one of those little shards of wisdom the fallen angel stole.
Enoch finally defeats these figures and we get some more story. Semyaza, one of the archangels, together with 6 others, betrayed God and they stole his shards of wisdom and fled to Earth, camouflaging them from God's gaze. The betrayal was only discovered when the shards were found to be missing, but by then it was too late. That's some good storytelling, if you have an intimate knowledge of the Book of Enoch like I do. If you don't, however, you may be a little bit confused. You may be wondering, who is Enoch and when did this happen in the Bible? Well, that's what I'm here for. Shaddai is based on the Book of Enoch, which is basically the religious fan fiction. You know, the stuff that definitely didn't happen. Unless you're one of the religious sects who do believe in it, in which case it is canon, but most groups do discount it, which is a shame because it's pretty neat. The Book of Enoch is about Enoch, who is the great-grandfather of Noah, who we all know as the biblical Ash Ketchum and floating zoo innovator. In the Book of Genesis, it says, depending on your translation, Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. This inspired the Book of Enoch, which tells us a tale of what happened to Enoch after his holy abduction. It turns out that God actually recruited him first to be a scribe, then an angel, the Metatron, God's right-hand man. He was the general God's body, if you will. In the events covered by the game, Enoch is simply a scribe recording the fall of the Grigori and the role played by the archangels Raphael, Uriel and Gabriel in bringing them to justice. Enoch's promotion to angel actually happens later. In the game, however, we see that Enoch is cast as the role of the hero. Armed with his first weapon and first nugget of divine wisdom, Enoch is transported to the hand that we saw at the beginning. The archangels are here, and they are depicted as swans, possibly because on Earth they possess no physical form, but also in art their wings have been known to resemble majestic birds, including swans, which also have something of a regal undertone about them. The archangels in the game act as guides for Enoch, assisting him in his mission to bring the fallen angels back to heaven for judgment. The hand itself is a kind of lift that is able to breach the veil to transport angels and people from heaven to earth and back, and also acts as a prison for the fallen angels, the Grigori. Enoch opens the shackles around the fingers, and as he does so is introduced to the angels. Azazel, leader of the Grigori and Semyazel's right-hand man. Ezekiel, Armoros, Sariel, Arakiel, Barakel, and finally Semyaza, the overall leader of the Watchers. These angels watched over mankind and were said to be the most human of angels, the ones who could stand to live on earth and who could relate to human concerns. When they fell, more angels fell with them, 200 I believe. And in fact, these may be the enemies that you face throughout the game. These creatures never appear to be explicitly explained or introduced. They are souls that attack Enoch in service of the fallen angels and need to be purified by his weapons. They may just be ghosts, but I find this a logical explanation for what they are, although in El Shaddai there are far more than 200. The hand lands, and Enoch runs off in search of the angels. It isn't long before he happens upon Lucifer, who is chatting to God and acts as a save point. Enoch is suddenly engulfed in flies and confronted by Azazel. He essentially says that he doesn't care that Enoch has been sent to bring them to justice, because now they're so powerful that not even God can stop them. Enoch continues on with his mission, and the opening credits chronicle his search. It takes 10, 25, 60, 81, 100 years. All the time he doesn't age but takes new names. 365 years pass before he finds the tower. In this time he presumably sets the ball in motion for the birth of Noah. See, Noah is significant to the Book of Enoch because in that story the flood is sent to reset the world, if you will. The legacy that the fallen angels left on the world was such a scar that all good could do was wipe away humanity. Noah and his family were to be the sole survivors who would propagate this new pure world. Back in the game, Azazel catches up to Enoch, who refused to heed his warning to stop looking all those years ago. Azazel's stare casts Enoch into a black and orange abyss. There he battles Enoch, and I'd like to say Enoch won, but I'm not that good. Azazel wins easily and leaves Enoch for dead, but Enoch is able to get up and keep going. And he finds the tower, hidden inside a cave, although it's not so much a tower as a throbbing living alien squid arrow, or a many-eyed Easter egg coated in glass. I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. Well, actually that was a dimensional portal that leads to the tower. But it did look a bit weird, didn't it? Inside is a walkway above a sprawling city in which a celebration is taking place. They're worshipping the angels as gods. Everything is strangely sci-fi, and here's where we notice something about the story in El Shaddai. The angels took divine inspiration from heaven and used it to expose humanity to progress that mankind would not have attained for thousands of years. This is also shown to include such mundane items as umbrellas. No, really. In Enoch's search for the angels, he's not just bringing the angels to justice for leaving God, but also to take away man's unnatural evolution. Now let us apply this to modern life. There are some people who, in their loyalty to a religion, consider technological advancements unnatural and against God. One only needs to look at the turbulent history between science and technology to see this. We also see that, as far as Lucifer is concerned, time is not a solid concept. He says,
To me, it seems like only yesterday. To you, could be tomorrow.
So, would it be unreasonable to say that in adapting the Book of Enoch for the game, the writer is actually using it as an allegory for the struggle that modern people of faith face? Like in El Shaddai, things are happening in the world that some people would find disconcerting. The world is changing, moving away from the ideals set out in their texts. Of course, some religions and their followers are more fluid than others, and are more receptive to change. But some, such as the Catholic Church, are notorious for sticking to their scripture. Indeed, as you progress through the level, this piece of text is shown. The people have flourished and revelled in civilization. They worshipped the fallen angels and forgot God. Look at today's mostly godless world. Some could argue that this bit of text applies now. We have our smartphones, technology, internet porn, all of the naughty things. I wonder how easy it is for somebody of faith to keep on their chosen wagon. Eventually, Enoch reaches Sariel, who states that human love is the source of unlimited power, and that he descended from heaven to find that love. Interesting how these subtitles put love in quotation marks. Sariel is an angel who loves free love, basically, and wants to fight Enoch to keep getting that nookie, I guess? Enoch loses again and finds himself in the nether realms. Apparently some enemies draw Enoch into a subconscious space where he can be defeated, so this is another interesting point. Enoch is, to all intents and purposes, immortal. No matter what happens, Lucifer can click his fingers and bring Enoch back. The only true threat that he has is to his subconscious and his will. When Enoch is defeated, you must pummel the buttons to regain consciousness and continue. But each time you must mash the buttons harder and faster. It takes more will, determination. Eventually, Enoch will just give up. It's not that he's been physically beaten, but he can no longer fight for God anymore. His will no longer allows it. Another sign that this story is really a battle of faith and tradition. And with that, say hello to this creamy sausage man. He is a Nephilim, a creature born from the unholy union of humans and angels, or naughty sin babies. It leads Enoch into the tower, and Lucifer breaks the fourth wall, telling us how long the game is.
You could clear this in 7 hours, if you're good enough.
Ezekiel's realm doesn't look like the inside of a tower, but this is a design mechanic used to show the power of the angels. These are, after all, divine beings, so of course their realm's not constrained by the rules that apply to you mere mortals. It seems that a little girl is looking for Enoch, and that Enoch needs to find her. While looking for her, Enoch bumps into Azazel and loses again. He moves on and ends up in a 2D platform game. A gorgeous 2D platform game. We learn that Ezekiel abandoned heaven for the natural beauty of the world, and perhaps that's why the world is shown in a 2D fashion. Better for us players to have our eyes guided, to see the beauty that brought about Ezekiel's downfall. After all, many of us may be sinners, abandoning God as Ezekiel did for our own ideas of beauty. Perhaps we can identify with her. Ezekiel is also something of a maternal figure. She loves family, and the family she creates, the Nephilim she bears, the lovers she chooses are all tainted. She represents the modern, godless family of today, growing up worshipping materialism and science. A passing messenger identifies the girl we're chasing as Nana, and says that she and her companion are searching for the messenger from heavens. Oh, how fortuitous that she is seeking us. As I go forward, it's worth me pointing out that I'm not going to cover every single case of artistic brilliance in this game, because this game is just a treat for the eyes. It's one of the most artistically accomplished, beautiful games I've ever played, and as such, I'll have to pick and choose my moments to gush. I should also note that I got my first game over during this section of the game, where upon expiring, one of the angels states, "It's not time to die."
This is not your appointed time to die.
And you continue from a save point. Again, showing how due to his divine helpers, Enoch is essentially immortal, so long as he chooses not to give in. As Enoch progresses through Ezekiel's realm, the world darkens until it's in flames, perhaps indicating the destruction that Ezekiel's obsession with beauty will lead to. And like mankind itself, obsession with physical beauty can lead to death and destruction. Those diamonds some girls like don't mind themselves. On the way, Sariel turns up sporting a delightful salmon and purple number. He likes to shoot bats at you. I would be lying if I said I understood why bats, but it looks cool, and the angels are quite indulgent, so perhaps that's why. Sariel wins and leaves Enoch to continue on. It's at this point that Nana and her weebly, mochi sausage-like Nephilim friend show up and help guide Enoch to safety. So, who is Nana, other than my mother's mother, of course? She's a blind girl who has no memory of her past. She was raised by a man named Sin, who is the leader of the Freemen, those messengers who keep giving me notes. They are followers of Ishtar, a goddess who was pulled into the underworld, or hell, I guess, and who told the prophecies of Enoch that he will help the Nephilim. Of course, by help, she means kill, because the Nephilim are sad and need to be put out of their misery. Nana explains it thusly.
They're always in so much pain, and always so sad, and they're like that forever. Left on their own, they eat each other and get bigger and bigger until they burst into flames.
Nana is under the impression that Enoch will bring Ishtar back, but this is the first that we've heard about that. We're just here as God's cleaner, sorting out this angel mess. I know what you're thinking. Seb, you sexy tsunami of manly brilliance. What are Ishtar and Nana doing in our Book of Enoch? They're not in there at all. And you'd be right, I think. You see, the difficult thing with religious texts is that they are many and varied, with different translations and all sorts floating about. That being said, I am reasonably sure that Ishtar and Nana are not mentioned in the Book of Enoch at all. However, Ishtar is a very well-known East Akkadian Semitic goddess of the moon, love, war, fertility, and sex. Ishtar is sometimes thought to be the daughter of the moon god Sin, but Sin's other name in mythology is Nana. Now, Sin is Nana's adoptive father, and he is the father who worshipped Ishtar. But how could he worship Ishtar if he is Ishtar's dad, and if he is also Nana? Well, as it happens, and if you'll pardon the pronunciation, Ishtar has a Sumerian counterpart named Inanna. Could it be that the writers got Inanna and Nana mixed up? Quite possibly. And why is this significant? You'll see. For now, however, let's carry on with the story. So Ishtar told the prophecies of Enoch, ended up going to the underworld, and her followers, the Freemen, who include Sin, adopted Nana and want Enoch to bring Ishtar back and then end the Nephilim's pain. So Ishtar told the prophecies of Enoch, ended up going to the underworld, and her followers, the Freemen, who include Sin, adopted Nana and want Enoch to bring Ishtar back and end the Nephilim's pain. And then a giant pig runs by and separates Enoch and Nana. On his way out of this space tube, Enoch is once again told, this time by one of the angels, that he is the key to Ishtar's resurrection. He emerges into a rainy platform and finds Lucifer standing with an umbrella. This is where Lucifer mentions that an umbrella is one of God's shards of wisdom and suggests Enoch tries mankind's contraptions. It amuses me that Lucifer is so blasé about all of this. He is clearly the one who will fall and become Lucifer, and he's using the contraptions that are forbidden from mankind. He's with Enoch on a mission to wipe these advancements out until mankind is ready, and yet here he is tempting Enoch, a man, with them. Yes, tempting. It's little touches like this that hammer home for me the idea that this game is about the struggle of maintaining religious integrity in the modern world. It's not just about Christianity either, seeing as this story includes Sumerian mythology, and probably more that I'm missing. Even one who is meant to be helping Enoch in his mission to cleanse the world and bring God's plan to fruition is suggesting that he partakes in that which he is trying to destroy, because it's cool, useful, easy. It's like the old debate of the anti-condom Catholics. Practicality says yes, while scripture says no. How do you maintain your religious integrity when society tells you that it's okay to do otherwise? And no, I am not getting into that debate. I'm just raising the hypothetical question posed by the game. Besides, who has time for that when we've got armoured pigs to fight? Enoch wins the fight and we begin chapter 4, Sariel's Deception. Sariel's realm is full of Nephilim, who I believe are Sariel's children, as well as the souls of his deceased beloved. He's a promiscuous fellow, that's for sure. Enoch gets eaten by a Nephilim, and it turns out that the insides of Nephilim are actually viable game levels. This level is essentially a race against time before the Nephilim devour each other and bring fire and destruction down on the world. On the way, Enoch gets ambushed by Sariel, and they have another fight that's sure to end as just another fake battle, like all the others. Hang on! Sariel just lost his armour! That's right, a real boss fight, and it's bloody difficult too.
Everything's fine.
Eventually, Sariel gets beaten up enough that he turns into his true form, which happens to be a bat. Oh! That'd explain the bats! To help him in his battle, Lucifer grants the assistance of Uriel, which is kind of like a Devil Trigger type overdrive attack. It sure is handy. With Uriel's help and a lot of time, Sariel is defeated. His beloved are distraught by this, and Sariel apologises for letting his loved ones down, and it's kind of sad really. Yes, he was naughty from God's point of view, but he didn't do anything bad as such, except make destructive children. The Nephilim melt away, presumably also purified by Sariel's defeat. Next is Barakel's realm. There, Sin asks for Enoch to purify Barakel's Nephilim as they're miserable, and sure enough, on arrival, a Nephilim eats another, and this happens.
These fire Nephilim are the source of all this world's trouble. If they didn't
Enoch is told that Nephilim are the reason that the Great Flood was ordered. The Nephilim also represent the children of sinners, impure, bastard children of the ignoble, who consume everything and live sinful lives, whose crass lifestyle contributes to the spiritual death of the world. While they're cute in the game, and so the prospect of killing them is unsettling, when Enoch actually sees them for what they really are, that flailing monstrosity thing, it renews his resolve. Notice how twice now a dreamy situation has taken a darker turn. In the beginning of both Ezekiel and Sariel's realm, the game is bright, vibrant, happy. One doesn't wish to take violent action. But when the levels darken, that's when the time to take action arrives, and you no longer doubt your mission, and in doing so you understand Enoch's goal and can identify with it. Enoch reaches the fire Nephilim and it's time to put it to sleep. The fight is long but not particularly tough, and eventually the Nephilim falls. And you know what? I still can't help but feel guilty. Look at that poor thing. And then it turns into Barakel Nephilim. Yeah, it ate Barakel and then it eats Enoch.
People to gain their powers.
Luckily, a being named Methuselah is there to save the day. He wasn't sure why he was there, but here he is, manifesting himself in time to pull Enoch out and then summon Sita, God's death drill that appears from the heavens and destroys the Nephilim in a decisive fashion. Yes, this whole segment is Deus Ex Machina, but surely a game about God and his angels and their excessive use of power and influence is the most sensible place for such implausibility. Indeed, seeing the power of God is also a good way to strengthen Enoch's resolve in this mission.
Was that the power of God?
The next floor is Azazel's realm, and, just look at it.
The potential of humans is unlimited. Their evolution progresses faster than even God could imagine.
It's Tron World, or at least a futuristic sci-fi world full of fluttery robots who espouse man's evolution and potential. In answer to this, Enoch dons his leathers and hops on God's motorcycle. And if you want to read the biblical inspiration for this high-speed futuristic chase, turn to the Book of Ducati, chapter 10:58. And lo did Enoch speed down the highways, inflicting judgment upon the automatons, for they were the spawn of the fallen. God saw this and knew that it was good. This whole sequence is insane. It's a monument to man's technological evolution and love of bombastic spectacle. I have no idea what was going on or how I was controlling it, or even if I did control it. What is important is that it ends with the bike exploding and Enoch's armour melting off without him incurring a scratch or even a burn. He then fights Batariel, who is a transformer, and victory sends us off to Armorous' realm. Armorous' realm is aquatic. It's mentioned that he and Enoch were friends, or if not friends, were relatively familiar with each other. In the canon of the game, when writing the scriptures, Enoch was often quizzed by Armoros about the people of Earth. He was fascinated by them and learnt to dance and sing. Unlike the other Watchers, he seems to want to just be a part of, to entertain and be adored by mankind. His fall, then, was more one of a misguided longing rather than darkness. This is also backed by the fact that he, unlike the other Watchers, never attacked Enoch prior to their main confrontation. The name Armoros actually means Cursed One, and fittingly enough, following his fall, Armoros loses his beloved singing voice and becomes mute, save for being able to issue out a mournful cry. On his way to meet Armoros, Enoch bumps into Nana again, who acts once more as something of a guide. Along the way, a freeman passes on a note about Armoros' Nephilim. He only has one, but unlike the others, it is at peace with itself and doesn't hate the world. It has inherited his father's nature, and loves people and the world in which they live. The confrontation of Armoros takes place on a stage in front of thousands of onlookers. Armoros appears not in his armour but in performance gear. Instead of fighting, he dances. He dances in front of the action while his fans try to slow Enoch down. If Armoros represents anything in this game, it's humanity's desire to just have fun. I'm sure a lot of you guys like to just party, have a good time, forget about the rules and all the boring obligations of life. That's Armoros ducking away from his confrontation with Enoch because he's partying, and parties come first. Enoch, on the other hand, is not giving in. He's on a mission that he takes very seriously. Armoros doesn't hate Enoch's piety, he just doesn't care until he has to, while Enoch is driven by his mission. Reluctantly, Armoros dons his Watcher armour and joins the fight. Again, it's not an easy battle, but before it can end properly, Belial appears and kidnaps Nana, dragging her into darkness. Into hell, perhaps? In the commotion, Enoch forgets about his battle and dives in after her, into the abyss. Armoros tries to stop Enoch, but it's too late. Mourning Enoch's loss, Armoros is convinced by Lucifer to go after him, to save him, and show him his choice. Which I suspect means his choice to be good, to turn back to God, to repent for his fall. During this sequence, Lucifer also says,
"If I go there, I'll be nothing more than a spectator."
Armoros agrees, and we get to play a new character, who plays basically the same as Enoch, but at least it's easy to adapt to. After the kind of platforming that is fittingly hellish for the underworld, Armoros finds Enoch, who has succumbed to the darkness being doubt. The roles are now reversed, and Armoros has to free Enoch. After the fight, Enoch is raised up, carried away by Lucifer, but it is something of a trade. The look on his face and the way Lucifer says,
"Well, at least you saved Enoch." That's what matters.
tells me that Lucifer knew that the only way to save Enoch was to send somebody in his place to swap out. That is why Lucifer would only go as a spectator, and it shows an understanding of the rules of the underworld from Akkadian mythology, but more on that later. Armoros is claimed by the darkness, while Enoch is returned to the world of the living. His body is still contaminated though, and it falls to Enoch to overcome his own inner conflict. Nana waits by Enoch's side, calling to him, while inside Enoch we play Enoch's indecision. Enoch, dressed in his dark armour, is quizzed, is told that choice is the one power that humans possess. Back in the tower, Enoch is encased in stone, or some kind of ice, as Nana waits. I think that this bit is entirely original, as I haven't been able to find anything in the Book of Enoch that involves Enoch overcoming doubt, and so it's safe to say that this plays into the story of Enoch as a religious man in the modern world. As Enoch battles his darkness, including a boss rush of Sariel, Armoros and himself, the years pass. A war breaks out between the freemen and the angels and their followers. Sin is defeated, and Nana finds his mask, the skull of Ishtar. As Sin dies, he believes that Lucifer is God, leading to this.
Are you God? So I shall go to heaven.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I was mistaken for you again.
Nana finds Ishtar's skull, and in a moment that would make Sam Beckett go, oh boy, she transforms into Ishtar and leads the charge of the Freemen. Now I'm sure it's quite obvious why this happened, but if not, allow me to explain. Remember Ishtar's Sumerian counterpart Inanna, and how Ishtar is the daughter of Sin. This basically means that Ishtar and Inanna are the same person but from different religions. Now Ishtar is the subject of quite a famous myth in which she goes to the underworld, much as in El Shaddai. In that myth she tries to escape, and while the original texts have been lost, scholars have found the Akkadian version, in which Ishtar, or in this case, Inanna, tries to escape. In that myth, Inanna is only able to escape if she swaps place with somebody else, one in, one out. Just like with Enoch and Armoros. Ishtar actually shows up a few times in the game in spirit form, each time waiting at the entrance to the underworld where Enoch can claim her bones that have been scattered, and she always pulls him back out, allowing him to return and dooming her spirit to go back in. However, with Inanna and Ishtar, they are technically speaking the same person. The game never explains Nana's origins, but either way, the contact with Ishtar's skull is enough for Ishtar to swap places with her, sending Nana to the underworld and bringing Ishtar back. Come to think of it, that's actually a pretty mean thing to do. Wow. So Enoch rids himself of doubt and goes back to his fight. Incidentally, you may remember that Enoch was said to be the key to Ishtar's awakening. I think that that's because he set in motion the events that led to the war between the Freemen and the Angels, which also led to Sin's death and so on. Anyway, after purifying himself, Enoch is told that he has discovered the power of free will, essentially telling us that before his doubts, he followed this belief blindly because he always had. Because of his doubts, he has now looked inside himself and made the conscious choice that for him, his religious belief is still correct. He's born again through his own free will, and that strengthens his resolve because he understands why he believes what he does, not just because he was told to. All of this happened in the space of 10 years, which is quite impressive when you consider that the council waited this long rather than just flooding the world and being done with it. Enoch finds a wounded Ishtar who has been battling Ezekiel. She shows him where to go to battle Ezekiel, and meanwhile Arakiel, whose floor it actually is already dead. Enoch finally catches up with Ezekiel, and they have their final proper battle, in which she turns into a multi-part jellyfish blob thing that at times reminds me of one of the characters from Nickelodeon's Are Real Monsters. Victory once again eradicates the Nephilim born of Ezekiel, and it means that the only one left to fight is Semyaz. Ezekiel's defeat has one sad side effect. Ishtar, or Nana's longtime Nephilim friend, was born of Ezekiel, and that means that he too is gone. Oh well, moving on. Enoch reaches Azazel, who turns into a grasshopper. He's hard as nails and eventually morphs into a final evolution, a third form. And then he gets eaten by Armoros. Yes, Armoros is still around, but he's been corrupted and become Dark Armoros against his will. He truly is a sea beast of epic proportions. After a really long fight, Armoros is put out of his misery thanks to a bit of double teaming from Enoch and Ishtar. However, Ishtar has been corrupted and she collapses, but Enoch is able to purify her as if she's a weapon, showing that he truly is at peace with his beliefs. He carries Ishtar to Semyaz's life support system. Apparently she is the key to his life support, and when she draws near, it opens. The reason why Ishtar is the key is actually explained in the novel Gideon, which explains Semyaz's fall. I hate referring to stuff outside the game because it cheapens the game's story, but in this case it's the only way we can get closure. In the novel, Semyaza watches a girl named Lulu, who will grow up to become the Ishtar that Nana idolised. He falls in love with her, so comes to Earth disguised as a boy named Sem. Long story short, he is so besotted with her that she is the reason that he convinces the other angels to fall with him, and that is why he chose her as the key to his life support. Incidentally, the reason why he is in life support in the first place is that he was somehow injured during the fall. Anyway, the tomb opens and he's already dead. So that's it. The Grigori are done for and Enoch purifies the tower, freeing the world of the angels' corruption without having to wipe out humanity. Humans were freed from their false evolution, and all of mankind's progress is lost so that they can evolve naturally, whatever that means. And that's it, except for one thing. Armoros' Nephilim is still alive, so that means... Ooh. So that's El Shaddai. On the one hand, as Lucifer says, it's a story that has happened many times throughout the ages, of a man with a religious mission struggling against the temptation and doubt, against the words and ideals of others to remain true to himself. It's the classic tale of good and evil, of fall and redemption. And that doesn't take much of a reach to understand, it's laid out quite clearly. Unlike most of the games I cover, the difficulty is in understanding what is actually going on. The game assumes a great deal of knowledge and flings plot developments and characters at you with the kind of abandon and artistic license rarely seen these days. But I hope I helped make some sense of it for you. The important thing to take away from this game is to be true to yourself, whatever you believe. And from me, is be excellent to each other. Or perhaps I've been talking bollocks this whole time.